right, what's up, everybody? I'm Dr. CI, the CEO of Diversity, and I am back in the building with my three colleagues, Tasha LaRae and Judy Blair. And today we are going to be talking to you about an unpopular opinion. So instead of me introducing what the unpopular opinion is, I'm going to pass the mic to Judy, our senior consultant, to lay down some knowledge for y'all about an unpopular opinion. Go for it, Judy.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, the unpopular opinion I'm bringing today is that white people can actually learn from other white people about racism. I know, right? There's a lot of folks out there who are saying, you know, we really, as white people, we need to learn from people of color about racism. And that is absolutely true. But that does not mean that we cannot learn from each other about it as well, right? We all have internalized racism that we are all working with every single day that that affects how we interact with people. It affects how we react to people. It affects how we think about things. And being in a space with other white folks can actually help us be more vulnerable about that and be more real about it, and allow us to, you know, say some stuff that maybe wouldn't be great to say to a person of color, right? Like, we don't want to go around re-traumatizing our friends of color just because we want them to teach us about racism. Like, that's not cool. That's not very friendly, right? So I think there is definitely space for white people to talk to each other. And also, like, white people, this is a problem that our ancestors made for us. We need to be a big part of dismantling it. So I think it's short-sighted to say that we can only learn from folks of color and people with marginalized identities. So that's my unpopular opinion.
Boom, pow,
yes.
throw glitter. Come
Wow.
on, this is a word, y'all, a word.
Right.
And I'm saying that because Judy has a very valid point. I don't think people understand the two different dimensions of racism. And so when I'm talking about dimensions of racism, I'm talking about the way that we experience them, right? So there's people who are the offenders who create racism and perpetuate it. And then there's the victims of racism. And it's like Judy made a very valid point. That shit gonna ring in my ears tonight about the fact that it's not up to people of color to educate you about racism. And one of the things that I immediately thought about, and it was like a trigger, I didn't even think it was gonna come to my mind. I was in Seattle on a panel, and there was this white woman, I can't remember what company she was from, but it was an AI company. And on the panel, she talked about, you guys have to educate me. First of all, she said, guys, it's you all. Guys is masculine. Everybody in the crowd is not masculine, okay? Right. So you all. I digress though. And then she was like, it's your job to educate me. And I was sitting next to her, and y'all know me. I was like, the short head turn, like, what? I'm like, pull out the job description and tell me where it's my job to educate you about racism. I'm like, I get that we absolutely can inform you, but damn you to sit in front of this room so entitled and say, you all have to teach me about it. Nah, that's not our job. There's so many resources out in the world that are accessible to you at your fingertips, whether it's your phone or your computer, or you get in your car and driving to a library, watching a movie. If you looking on Netflix, there's so much information out there about racism at every level, structural, individual, institutional. And so I was just like, let me be clear, it's not our job to do that. And if we do decide to do that, it is our choice, right? It's a gift. So receive it as a gift and not as an entitlement, because that's not what it should be.
Absolutely. I put up a post on Instagram yesterday, and it was a post about wanting like justice for Breonna Taylor and also justice for Jacob Blake. And the details, of course, of that situation is still unfolding, but there was someone who put a comment on the post that was like, justice for Breonna Taylor. Why do we need this justice? And basically they were asking us to educate them on the situation. And I was just like, how entitled you must feel you have to be. First of all, to even just to say that comment, that just like, I don't know what rock you live under.
Right? Months later, months. It has been months.
Months. Absolutely months. And that's even a bigger part of the problem. And not to get off the subject a little bit, even though that's super important. But my whole point with that was there were some people who were like, well, who do we ask? If we can't ask Black people questions, then who do we ask? Google. encyclopedias if you want to go back that far. You can pick up plenty of books. Just go to Barnes and Nobles. Those babies got everything. There's so much stuff that is out there to grab. And then someone said, well, how do you know what information is correct? Really? You think that much of it is going to be off? Like, right. Just start somewhere. Because even if you show you're taking the initiative and you're doing the work and you have some legit questions, absolutely. The people that are around you, they will definitely, I'm sure they will be open to talking with you. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's not difficult. If there's something you want to figure out, you find a way to figure that stuff out. If it's important enough to you, you'll figure it out and you won't make an excuse for it. But I think some of those other things are just cop-outs. Oh, I'm not around Black people, so I really don't know about racism. Whose fault is that?
Right.
It's not our fault. You know what I mean? So, but I'm so glad you said that, because I do think some white people don't think that they can learn from other white people about racism. And then it's almost like you become this voice, and it's like, well, what qualifies you to talk about racism? You're white too. You know what I mean? Have you ever even experienced that, Judy?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, definitely. What's that like, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, I mean, I understand where it's coming from, and I'm not trying to say that like you should only go to white people, right? Like, absolutely, there should be people of color that you're learning from. And, you know, if you don't know how to find those people are Googling YouTube videos on how to fix their sink all the time. I think that you can Google some YouTube videos on racism and like figure that ish out, right? But yeah, I mean, I definitely have had some pushback from folks about being a white person doing anti-racism work because I'm white, right? And my answer to that is like, it's my job to bring my people along. Right. Like I got where I am because I thought about this and learned about it and really did some deep self-reflection about it. And it's really, really important to me. And I want to share that with other folks. And just because I'm white doesn't mean that I haven't learned from folks of color and that I haven't been able to learn from other white people. You know, just because you're white doesn't mean you don't know anything about racism. White is a race, right? It's a racial identity. And we just don't ever have to point that out.
Right. Because I think that people don't understand that people of color, most of the time, can only teach you about racism from a victim's experience. You know what I'm saying? From the sense of being a victim of it. And there's more ways than that to learn about racism.
Right.
And so, you know, there's the witness, there's the victim, there's the offender or the oppressor. And so if you're only looking for victims to educate you, then I get that you only care about their experience and you want to hear their experience, but that's not what is always going to help you solve it. Like when Judy said to dismantle systems, in order to dismantle systems, you have to learn about all three instances of how it works. So whether you are a victim and you're impacted by it directly, if you're a witness who's impacted by it indirectly, you need to learn about bystander intervention and things like that. If you are an offender, you need to learn about how to be anti-racist and not racist. You know what I'm saying? And so I got that from Ibram Kendi. I am giving a shout out to that brother. His book is great. But I definitely that's how I think most people need to understand about approaching racism, especially white people who want to understand what racism is and how to stop it.
Yeah, for real.
Absolutely.
Well,
that might be this. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we covered it.
I just say keep learning about racism and how you can be anti-racist and what you can do in your space to have influence in your circle.
Okay, for sure. And I'm gonna go under your comments and look for the person that said that, because I got some words. But thank y'all for attending. I am here for the IG battle today. Thank you for attending. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Share our video. Let's spread knowledge together. We all here to spread knowledge and love, even if it's very blunt, which is what love can be sometimes. So thank you once again. We Diverse City, and we are out. This has been your unpopular opinion about white folks understanding that you can learn from other white people about racism.